Prime Minister, and then followed by the Council of Ministers, composition of Council of Ministers, and the functions of Council of Ministers. Okay, this is the structure what we learn in this chapter. What are the main objectives of this unit is or chapter is? First, we will identify the powers and functions of the President of India. Next, same Prime Minister of India, powers and functions, and the role of Prime Minister of India. Then we will describe the relationship between the Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. These are the main objectives of the President of India. Next. Next, coming to the main theme, the President of India. Here we learn about elections, qualifications, tenures, powers and functions, and Vice President also. So coming to this elections. Elections are all the subcategories. We all know that Union government exercises powers and authority and carry out its functions at national level and at state level by state government. Here, all the matters concerning the union executive or union government are dealt under Part 5 and articles from 52 to 147 of the Indian Constitution. Part 5 and articles 52 to 147 of the Indian Constitution deals with the union government. Okay, why? Because president comes under union government only. And coming to the president, we all know that Indian president is the constitutional head of the Indian Union. He is also called as the first citizen of India. Like coming to some important points of the president, like he symbolizes the unity, integrity, and solidarity of India. Okay, he has the main duty. His main duty is to preserve and defend the constitution and the laws of the Indian Union. Yesterday we have learned about the parliamentary system. So since our constitution prescribes parliamentary system, president acts as the nominal executive. Like we have learned in the past class, right? President will act as the nominal executive, like British Queen. Okay, he will do not have the real powers. The real powers are vested with the Prime Minister. That means he exercises his power through his officers subordinate to him. Although he have some extraordinary powers during the emergency, we will see this in the extraordinary powers or emergency powers. Okay, coming to the elections of the president. Here, this is mentioned. Elections is mentioned in Article 62, subclause 1 of the Indian Constitution. This articles mentions that an election should be held to fill the vacancy of the presidential before the post of expiration of the tenure. Just to keep remember, before the post. Okay, before the post of expiration of the tenure. That means the current president before retires, then the president should be elected. Before that only the president should be elected. And Article 55 explains the mode of election. Article 62 tells that we should fill the vacancy of the president before the expiration of the tenure. And Article 55 explains the mode of election, means how president is elected. See, how president is elected means he is elected by electoral college. This electoral college consists of subgroup of members. Okay, who are those group of members? Means first one, the elected members of both the house of the parliament. That means the elected members of Lok Sabha and the elected members of Rajya Sabha. Okay, this is the first body. And next is the elected members of state legislative assemblies. Okay, here the elected member, just give me some members are elected members of state legislative assembly and elected members of Indian Parliament. Okay, coming to central Indian Parliament, coming to state legislative assembly members. Okay, and here the value of the votes of the elected MPs and MLAs, like they have certain criteria how they have different value of votes. How means, like, just keep remember the some type of formula, that is, if the members are from the state legislative assembly, then the formula is total number of total population of the state divided by total number of elected members in the legislative assembly of the state into 1000. This is the vote value of the MLA. Next, coming to MP. Here the MP vote value is total value of the votes of all the MLAs, right? Taking the total value of all the MLAs and divided by the total number of elected members of both the houses of the parliament. That means both Lok Sabha and both Rajya Sabha. In up, we take, in numerator, we take the total values of all the MLAs. Okay, these are two criteria for the value of the votes. Okay, and one more thing, the election of the post of the president of India, like, is held on behalf of, like, the principle of proportional representation by single transferable vote and by secret ballot paper. Just keep remember that, by single transferable vote. That means it is like, these elections, like president and vice president election, shall not be challenged in any court of law. Okay, on the ground that electoral college is incomplete, and if electoral college is not fully occupied, then based on that it cannot be challenged in any court. And we all know that the office of the president is, like, oathed or administered by the Chief Justice of India. And if Chief Justice of India is absent, then in his presence, or if he is absent, Chief Justice of India is absent, then senior most judge of the Supreme Court will be administered. Okay, that is related to the elections. Next, coming to qualifications. See, what are the qualifications to become a president? First of all, he should be the citizen of India. Okay. Here, he should be a citizen of India. Whether natural or natural, we do not. But coming to the president of USA, he should be naturally born in USA. Okay. Here, he should be the citizen of India only, not naturally born citizen. Okay. Next, he should have completed 35 years of age. Second important qualification. Next, he should be qualified for election as a member of Lok Sabha. That means he should be eligible for to be elected as a member of Lok Sabha. Okay. Then he should not hold any office of profit under the union government or any state government or any local body. Okay. No office of profit is the one point. And to be qualified, elected as a member of Lok Sabha, second point. Next, should have 35 years, third point. And should be the citizen of India. For four important qualifications to be the president of India. Next, tenure. What is the tenure? We all know that the president holds the office for a 5 years, fixed term. 5 years from the date on which he enters the office. Okay. From the date on which he enters office, he holds for 5 years. And also he can resign at any time. If he wants to resign, he can resign at any time by giving resignation to vice president. Keep remember, by keep resignation to vice president. Vice president will give his, what we call, a resignation letter to president. Okay. For suppose, if vacancy is there in the present office, like due to some resignation or removal or due to the death of the president, Then vice president will act as the president. Okay, until the new president is elected, he will not full-fledgedly go as a president. For a temporary period, he will be acted as a president until the new president is elected. Okay. Uh, Further, if at all the vice president is also not unable, then the chief justice of Supreme Court acts as the president. Okay, this can be seen in Hidatila. Hidatila became the president for a temporary period. Hidatila is the chief justice of India at that time. Okay, first president, then vice president, then if at all those two are absent, then senior most judge of the Supreme Court. That means chief justice. If chief justice is also not absent, then senior most judge of the Supreme Court. And also, uh, like in USA, the president is elected only twice. That is for 8 years. In in USA, the term is for 4 years, but the president can be elected only twice. That means only for 8 years. Unlike India, in India, president can elect n number of times. Any number of times, the president can be re-elected. Okay, just keep remembering. That is related to tenure. Next, coming to powers and functions. What are the some important powers and functions related to the president of India? We have so many powers related to the president. Like he is the main head of the state, enjoys wide powers. Like some powers, like uh, we can like further divide them into executive powers, legislative powers, financial powers, judicial powers, emergency powers. Okay, we will in detail look upon those powers. Coming to executive powers, what some of the executive like the president enjoys all executive powers of the government. Like he exercises the powers directly through council of ministers appointed by him. Here he does not have powers. Like all the powers are derived from the council of ministers headed by prime minister. First of all, what are those executive powers means? All the executive actions of the government of India, all the executive actions of the government of India takes place formally on the president name. Okay, whatever the executive action takes place, it should be on the official name of the president only. Next one, he appoints the prime minister and other ministers. Okay, they will hold the office until his pleasure. Next important executive function is like he has power to appoint the Attorney General of India, the Comptroller and General of India, Auditor General of India, the UPSC members and chairperson, the governors of the state, the chairperson and members of Finance Commission, and administrator of union territories and lieutenant governors, and language commissions, backward classes commissions, minorities commissions, national commissions for human rights, commission to investigate the conditions for SCs, STs, and so many like interstate council to promote center and state and interstate cooperation. All these appointments are done by the president. Okay. These are some of the executive powers. Next, coming to legislative powers. What are those legislative powers means? We all know that President is part and parcel of the Parliament of India. Okay, Parliament means Parliament consists of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and President. Though President is not the member of both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, he is the integral part of the Parliament. Okay, he can summon or prorogue the Parliament, and he can dissolve the Lok Sabha. Okay, Rajya Sabha cannot be dissolved. Lok Sabha only dissolved. Rajya Sabha is a permanent body. Okay, and he can also summon a joint sitting of both the houses of the Parliament. Okay, this both the houses of the Parliament joint sitting is headed by Speaker, not President. Okay, not even the Deputy Chairman, Deputy Speaker. Only the speaker will be presided the joint sitting of the houses. Even the president will address the parliament after every first session, after each general election. Okay, after each general election there will be first session going on. It will be addressed in the parliament by the president. Okay, next, he even like what we call nominate members, 12 members to Rajya Sabha. Now, who are those members? Means those who have special knowledge. Okay, those who have special knowledge and practical experience in the fields of literature, science, arts, and social service. In all those things, in all those criterias, who will have experience in those things, 12 members are selected to Rajya Sabha by the president. Um, he also gives, he gives and withhold his assent to the bills sent by the parliament. He has that power. Okay, he has power to withhold the bill, or he has power to give permission or give assent to the bill. Like he can send back the bill for reconsideration also, for reconsideration of the parliament. If the bill is not liked by the president, it should make some changes. He thinks, if the president thinks the bill must make some changes, it then he tells that it should be reconsidered. Okay, his prior permission is required for introducing the bill in parliament related to the creation of new states or alteration of the boundaries of the existing states. Okay, like creation of Telangana, before creating the Telangana state, the parliament have gave prior information to the president. Just keep remember, for the creation of new states or alteration of the boundaries of the existing states, then the prior permission of the president is required. Like he also places the annual reports of UPSC, Comptroller and Auditor General of India, and backward areas. Okay, all these reports will be placed in the parliament for their approval. Okay, these are some powers related to legislative powers related to the president. Next, coming to financial powers. What are the financial powers? Means like annual financial statement. Okay, the president will ensure what the annual financial statement of the government is, that is laid before the parliament. Okay, and even no money bills. Okay, no money bills can be introduced in the parliament without his prior approval. See, what we call new state, new boundaries or alteration of the states, and even money bills cannot be introduced without prior information of the president. That means prior information should be given to the president before these bills are kept before the parliament. Okay, he even operates the contingency fund of India. Contingency fund of India for natural calamities when they take place, those funds are utilized. So in the times there is urgent need to take money. So through president sign, we can directly take those contingency fund of India amount. And he also constitutes finance commission for every 5 years. This finance commission, we all know that is distribution of taxes between the central and the states. Okay, finance commission plays a very important role in financial aspects. And also, president sees that the reports of the finance commission and CAG of India are placed before the parliament. Okay, placed, whether these reports are correctly placed or not, like will be checked by the president of India. Next, coming to judicial powers. What are the judicial powers? Means we all know that the president of India appoints the chief justice and judges of the Supreme Court and High Court also. Uh, he can seek advice from the Supreme Court on any matters related to law or fact. Okay, but the advice given by the Supreme Court is not binding on the president. Okay, he exercises his all powers only on the advice of Union Council of Ministers. Like the president may seek judicial advice on crucial legislation, crucial legal, institutional, diplomatic issues, anything, he can seek the information from the judiciary. Okay. And like the president can even possess some powers related to grant like pardons, reprieves, respite, or remission of punishment, or to suspend or commute the sentence of any person convicted of offense. All these powers are related to the punishment and sentences given by court martial. Okay, all these powers possessed by the president. Next important is last one, emergency powers. We know that there are three types of emergencies: national emergency, presidential rule, and financial emergency. Here, national emergency is dealt with Article 352. Presidential rule is 356, and financial emergency is Article 360. Okay, all these three emergency. Here, in Article 356 of President rule, President plays a very important role. It is also called as like President rule is also called as constitutional emergency or state emergency. State emergency or constitutional emergency. Like when can this emergency proclaimed means like on the grounds of two important criteria, that is failure of constitutional machinery in the states. When there is when the state is not in accordance with the constitutional machinery, then at that time president rule can be imposed. Next important criteria is failure to comply with or to give effect to the directions given by the union. If any of the directions given by the union government is not correctly implemented by the state, then at the time also president rule, that is emergency, constitutional emergency, can be imposed in any state. When this emergency is imposed, the president will be have excessive powers, like will himself access all the powers and functions of the state government. Here the state legislature will be dissolved. Okay, president will take over all the functions of the state legislation. um, Here, but what we call, he cannot assume himself the all the powers of the high court. The courts have their autonomy and independence. Okay, he will just have the powers related to the state legislature. That's it. And this president rule shall be approved by the parliament within a period of 2 months. Okay, president rule bill that must be passed by the parliament within the 2 months of the proclamation of emergency by the president. Like after the approval, the president can further extend for 6 more months. The president rule can be further extended for 6 more months. Okay, that is related to president rule. We also know that in financial emergency is proclaimed by the president. When this financial emergency is proclaimed means like when there is fiscal instability or credibility of the country is threatened, then the president will impose financial emergency. See, during this period, the president will give some important recommendations. That is for reduction of salaries and allowances of administrative personnel. Here, the union government can also impose to decrease or to cut the salaries and allowances of every central employee, state employee. Like even for judges of the Supreme Court or Chief Justice of the Supreme Court and High Courts, all the members can be, there is cut, the cut of the salaries can be seen here. Okay, those are some important points related to powers and functions of the President of India. Coming to next, last one, Vice President. This Vice President, which article mentions about Vice President means Article 63. Article 63 of the Indian Constitution provides that there shall be Vice President of India. Okay, this he is elected by the Electoral College. Same, the Electoral College comprising of the members of both the houses of the Parliament. Same, this point is seen in president also. Okay, he also, here the difference between the vice president and president, here the state legislative, the elected members of state legislative assemblies are not taken into consideration. Only the members of both the houses of the parliament will take part in the election procedure of the vice president. Okay, how this vice president is elected means same as like by with the system of proportional representation by means of single transferable vote and through secret ballot, same as the how president is elected. Next, coming to qualifications, what are the necessary qualifications to be a vice president means same, he should be a citizen of India, he must have completed the 35 years of age, he should qualify to elect for election as the member of council of states, that means Rajya Sabha. In president he should be qualified to be the member of the Lok Sabha. Okay, in vice president it is Rajya Sabha. Okay. Same as like he should not hold any office of profit under state government or central government or local authority. And also he should not be the member of the parliament or state legislature. Okay, if in case he is a member, then he should be immediately resign his membership. Okay, those are some important points. We and vice president will be holding office for 5 years. He hold office for 5 years. Like he is ex officio chairman of Council of State. We have already learned about it. Like that is chairman of Rajya Sabha. He presides over the sittings of Council of States and enjoys the right of casting vote. He also acts as for the president in the event of what we call occurrence of vacancies in the office of the president. If president is unable to perform his function, also vice president can go and act as the president of India. Okay, these are some points related to vice president of India. Next, coming to prime minister, we all know that he is the real executive authority. Okay, who is the nominal? President is the nominal. Prime minister is the real executive authority. He is the head of the Union Council of Ministers. This Union Council of Ministers exercise enormous powers in the Union government. We all know that. Like prime minister, how is appointed means he is appointed by the president. Okay, even the other ministers are appointed by the president on the advice of the prime ministers. And here in parliamentary system, the council of ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. This council of ministers should be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Here the ministers also hold office during the pleasure of the president. Just to keep remember. Here the president will look after the administer of the oath of the officers of all the ministers. Okay, the salaries and allowances of the ministers shall be salaries. That means the salaries and allowances of both the council of ministers and prime ministers shall be determined the parliament, not president. Just to keep remember by the parliament. Here the prime minister will be acted as the leader of the Lok Sabha. Okay, he is the leader of Lok Sabha. He is the party in power. Like he is the leader of the parliament, union cabinet, union council of ministers, chief executive head of the union government, chief spokesperson of the union government of India, chief architect of Indian administration system. Okay, all these terms will be given to the Indian prime minister. Next, coming to appointment, how the prime minister is appointed means this is according to the constitution only. As per the constitution, the prime minister is appointed by the president. But whom means the president will invite the majority party leader of the Lok Sabha to form the government. Okay, how should the president elected means those who have the majority party leader, those who is majority party leader of the Lok Sabha, then he should come and form the government. Like there is no specific provisions as to whether the president should be from the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. President can call any person whether from Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, and can should show his majority. Okay, if he is not member of the Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha also can be elected, but within 6 months he should be the member of either Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. Just keep remember that point. Next, coming to some important powers and functions. These powers and functions will be divided into three types: in relation with Council of Ministers, in relation with President, and in relation with Parliament. Okay, coming to in relation with ministers, we all know that what he recommends persons who can be appointed as ministers based on the prime ministers, what we call recommendation only. Council of ministers or ministers are appointed by the president. uh, all the ministers are formally meet the president only with the consent of prime minister. Okay, any council ministers should meet the president only with the consent of the prime minister. Okay, coming to what is his powers related to president. In relation to the president, like he is the chief or what we call principal channel of communication between the president and council of ministers. That means the information from president and council of ministers will be flown from the prime minister. He communicates to the president about all his decisions of council of ministers relating to the administration of the affairs of the union and the proposals of legislations as the president may call. If presidents ask what is the administrative system or what is the administration of the affairs or what are the proposals related to legislations, then he will give the communication to the president. Next, in relation to the parliament, just we have learned he is the leader of the house. He enjoys all the powers related to the parliament. Okay, even the president can recommend for dislocation of Lok Sabha to the president at any time. He advises the president. He means prime minister. Prime minister will advise the president with regard to summoning or processing the sessions of the parliament. Like the prime minister also announces the government policies on the floor of the house. Okay, some other important points are he is the chairman of Niti Aayog. Previously, we will call this as Planning Commission. Then he is the chairman of National Development Council, National Integrated Council, Interstate Council. He is the chief spokesperson of the union government. He plays an important role in the foreign policy also. Okay, these are some important points related to powers and functions of the prime minister. Coming to what is the role of the prime minister. Here, we all know that we have all seen the powers and functions of the prime minister. All the decisions, major decisions are taken by the prime minister. Then it shall be implemented by the prime minister. So by the president. That means what he plays a very crucial and significant. Even we tell that prime ministerial type of government. India's type of government is prime ministerial government, not presidential form of government. Okay, we also call it a parliamentary form of government. Like the prime minister is like what we call is a prototype of the prime minister. That means we have similar features related to the prime minister of India and Britain prime ministers. The very important role means he can be the leader of the union of the council of ministers. He plays important role in foreign policies, defense, finance, and planning. All the important factors, all the important recommendations, all the important matters, everything will be under the prime minister only. Okay, so it is very important role. So it is a very important role played by the prime minister. Coming to council of ministers. Here, how the council of ministers are like what we call arranged means it is the council of ministers are arranged based on the British pattern. Okay, here the council of ministers are headed by the prime minister. They are the real executive authority. Like which article means Article 74. Article 74 of the Indian Constitution provides that there shall be council of ministers headed by prime minister to aid and advise the president of India. Okay, and article 75 also tells that prime minister shall be appointed by the president and other ministers on the advice of the prime minister. First, prime minister is appointed by the president, then prime minister, based on the advice of given by the prime minister only, other ministers, that means council of ministers, will be elected. Okay, coming to composition. What is the composition? The council of ministers is mainly divided into three categories, that are cabinet ministers, ministers of state, and deputy ministers. Okay, coming to these three, what is union cabinet? Union cabinet. Just keep remember, the word cabinet is nowhere mentioned in the Indian Constitution. Okay, it was included by 44th Constitutional Amendment Act in 1978. Like basically, it means the senior most members of the Union Council of Ministers. That means who will all come to as cabinet ministers means, like some of the important ministers are defense, home affairs, human resource development, foreign affairs, some finance, railways. These are some of the important cabinet ministers. Like they are also the roots of the cabinet. Why? Because they are the heads of the department and plays important role for the formulation and implementation of national policies. Okay, all the national important national policies, this comes under important. All these national policies are implemented and formulated by those cabinet ministers only. Okay, those are related to cabinet ministers, and they are followed by what we call ministers of state. Will they will assist the cabinet ministers, and they were given some less important departments for them, for ministers of state. Then deputy ministers means they are like junior ministers who will give assistance to the cabinet and ministers of the states. What are the eligibilities to be the council of ministers? Okay, uh, they must have membership in either houses of the parliament. If they are not the members of the parliament, they should be elected in either in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha within the 6 months. Okay, those 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 are terms and conditions to be the council of ministers. What is the main functions of the union cabinet means, like they are collectively responsible to the lower house. The like the functions will be under the leadership of the prime minister, and it maintains secrecy in all the divisions or in all the decisions. They maintains secrecy. All these are important points related to the, and what are the important functions means, we all know that union cabinet formulates the policies and finalizes the domestic as well as foreign policies. Even when the parliament is not in session, the important decisions like during calamities or earthquakes, natural calamities like earthquakes, the union cabinet plays a very crucial role. We all know that in collective responsibility means uh, like in parliamentary system of government, collective responsibility of council of ministers is very important criteria. How can we say parliamentary system of government means based on the collective responsibility of council of ministers only? Okay, in presidential form of government, there is no what we call collective responsibility. Okay, these are some important points related to council of ministers and their functions of the council of ministers. Okay, we have completed the chapter, and we will briefly go to this the union government unit. Union government, in this chapter we have learned about the president, prime minister, and council of ministers. In president, we learn about his qualifications, tenures, what are his powers: legislative powers, executive powers, judicial powers, financial powers, and emergency powers. Okay. Next, coming to Prime Minister, we have learned about that how Prime Minister is appointed, what are the conditions to be like for the Prime Minister. All those things are we have learned. And Council of Ministers, so Council of Ministers composition, what are the important functions of the Council of Ministers. All those things have been learned. Next important chapter is Central Secretariat and Cabinet Secretariat. In this chapter, we will learn about the how Central Secretariat function. What are the functions of the Central Secretariat, organizational structure of the Central Secretariat. Then followed by Cabinet Secretariat, organizational structure of the Cabinet Secretariat, roles and function. What are the important roles and functions made by the Cabinet Secretariat and Cabinet Secretary? Cabinet Secretariat is headed by Cabinet Secretary. What are the role of the Cabinet Secretary? And next last important point is Prime Minister's office. Okay, what is the organizational structure of the Prime Minister office, and what are the functions of the Prime Minister office? Or we will this look in this unit 6. Okay, what are the objectives means what is the organizational structure of the ministries, what is the role of the Central Secretariat, what are the functions of both Central Secretariat, and what is the estimate role of the Prime Minister office. All these things we will learn in the unit 6. Okay. We all know that there are Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister to aid and advise the President of India. See, all these functions, in order to perform all these functions, there there should be like assistance. There is a need of assistance. For the purpose of this assistance and administrative convenience, like the administration is divided into several ministries and departments. Okay, these ministries and department together constitute as Central Secretariat. Okay, all the powers and functions are cannot be dealt by the President, Prime Minister, and Council of Ministers. There should be some departments and ministries. Okay, these together constitute the as Central Secretariat. In additional to like Central Secretariat, there is Cabinet Secretariat and there is Prime Minister Office to look after the union administration, like particularly to policy formulation and implementation. See, all those what we call ministries and departments of the central governments are governed by Government of India Act, Allocation of Business Rules Act 1961. Okay, 1961 Act ప్రకారంగా ఇవన్నీ చూస్తున్నారు. Okay, simply what is secretariat means? Secretariat means secretary office. It is the office of secretary. Okay, it has three essential organs. What are the three essential organs of Central Secretariat means? It will have minister, it will have secretary, it will have executive head. Okay, next, what functions? What are the functions of the minister means? Important function is to make the policies. That means formulations of the policies. Okay, the secretary duty is to provide the necessary material. Here, secretary is to provide necessary material to take decisions and to oversee the implementation of such decisions. Okay, and the executive head is who is the executive head means the executive all the executive heads is to carry out the decisions into that effect, the effect which is taken by the previous minister or secretary. It should be carried out by the executive head. Okay, what are the functions means? Like to formulation of the policies, like framing of laws, rules and regulations, budgeting and controlling, expenditure, supervising the execution of policies and evaluating the results, coordinating and interpreting the policies and maintaining contacts with the state administrators, and discharge of their responsibilities to the parliament. All these are some of the important functions of Central Secretariat. Next, coming to organization. We all know that the ministry individually cannot deal with all the functions. Here, the ministry will divide it into some of the parts. How the parts are arranged means first the ministry divided into departments, then the departments will divided into wings. That wings will be divided by divisions. Divisions will be divided into branches, and branches will be divided into sections. And all those individual departments will be headed by individual members. That is, the department is headed by the secretary or additional secretary or special secretary. Whereas coming to wing, the wings is headed by additional secretary or joint secretary. Okay. Whereas divisions are headed by director or deputy secretary. Coming to branches are headed by under secretary. Okay. Branches are headed by under secretary. And whereas coming sections are headed by section officer. Just keep remember this organization structure and heads. Who are the heads of those organization? Uh, this can be seen in Article 77. That is, the Article 77 of the Indian Constitution authorizes the President of India to make rules for the convenient transactions of business of central government and allocation of such business among ministries. All this organization structure are came through Article 77. See, the Ministry of Central Government is three-state structure. That is, there will be political head, there is administrative head, there is executive head. Political head means cabinet minister. Okay. This cabinet minister is like assisted by, we have previously learned, is assisted by Minister of State and Deputy Minister. Whereas administrative head is secretary. Okay. Civil secretary means secretary is a civil servant. He is also assisted by joint secretary, deputy secretary, under secretary. Okay. Executive head, like the executive head of the department will be have different names. Like for example, director general, commissioner. Okay. All these are sometimes of divisions taken place in the ministry cabinet. Okay, coming to department. What is department means individually will see. Department is the main unit of the ministry. Like a single ministry may have several departments. Okay, that ministry is headed by the minister, who is a political head, and secretary. Secretary is the administrative head. Okay, here within a ministry, like each department is headed by like secretary or additional secretary or special secretary. Okay. If in case there is more than one department in the ministry, there will be more secretaries. Okay. If there is one secretary, there will be one secretary. If there are more departments, means there will be more secretaries. Okay. Based on the departments, the secretaries will be recruited. Here, how the secretaries will be appointed means based on a panel approved by the Prime Minister. Okay. The Prime Minister directly will not appoint these secretaries. A panel is appointed by the Prime Minister. Based on the panel only, they will be selected. Here, the secretary, important one, the secretary is considered as the principal advisor. Why? Because he have knowledge. He is a civil servant. He has knowledge regarding the policies. Okay, next wing. Coming to wing. Wing means wing will be headed by additional secretary. Based on depending upon the volume or length of the work, ministry is divided into one or two or three, like one or more than one wings for administrative convenience, depending on the work. Here, the additional or joint secretary will be the in charge of the wing, who is like its responsibility comes under the secretary only. Okay. Next, coming to divisions. Here, the divisions will be headed by the director or deputy secretary. This director post can be this director post is created in 1960s. Okay. The responsibility of director is to more or less same as the deputy secretary. Okay, the director and deputy secretary is mostly same. Like he remains responsible for the performance of the governmental functions within his territorial jurisdiction. Whatever the territory has, he has this responsibilities. Next, branch. A branch is headed by undersecretary. Okay, undersecretary means undersecretary is in charge of all the branches in the ministries and has full authority regarding the business and transactions and maintenance of the discipline with respect to the branch. This undersecretary is also called as branch officer. Okay, branches means branches officer. That's it. See, in undersecretary, under undersecretary should initiate action in inward communication and important files it should be maintained. So next one is section officer. Okay, section officer. Section officer means he's head of the section. He is in charge of the section. He what his main function means? He basically supervises the work of the staff of his section. He distributes the work among his staff, trains and assistant. Why? Because all those functions will be divided into categories, and subordinates will do those works. All those works are supervised by the section officers. He also submits the periodical reports, maintains section diary, file register, and proper documentations will be taken upon into consideration. All this is seen by section officer. Okay. Next important one is cabinet. Cabinet secretariat. Okay. What is the organizational structure of cabinet secretariat means? Like cabinet secretariat was even there before the pre-independence era. It has the organization. That means it has three wings. They are civil wing, military wing, and intelligence wing. Other than that, we had all these three wings has important work in secretariat work only. They will be looked upon by various committees. Through establishing committees, they will look upon the things. Some of the other organizations, we have some other organizations, so like research and analysis wing, that is raw, director general of security, and what we call special protection group, that is SPG, joint intelligence committee, that is JIC, directorate of public grievances, national authority on chemical weapons convictions. All these are some of the other organizations which are part and parcel of cabinet secretariat. Like, what is the important roles and functions of the cabinet secretariat? Like, it prepares the agenda for the cabinet meeting and provides necessary information for its deliberations. For implementation also, they will provide some important information. It will keep a record of the discussions of the cabinet and cabinet meetings and circulates them to the concerned ministers. Okay, it is recorded and kept. It provides secretarial assistance to the cabinet committees chaired by the Prime Minister, Political Affairs Committee, Appointments Committee, and Committee on Parliamentary Affairs. All these committees, it will provide the secretariat assistance. It also keeps the president and vice president informed about the main activities of the central government. These are some important points relating to the cabinet secretariat. Coming to cabinet secretary. Who is cabinet secretary means he is the administrative head of the cabinet secretariat. Okay, what are the powers and functions means? He is the chief coordinator of the central administration. He is the chairperson of senior selection board, which selects the officers for the post of joint secretary and secretariat, central secretariat. He himself selects the officers of the posts of secretary, additional secretary in the central secretariat. He is the chairperson of the committee of the secretariat on administration, which is set up to resolve the interministerial disputes. All these are the some of the important powers and functions related to cabinet secretary. Even cabinet secretariat will act as chief advisor to the prime minister, and like in respect to some matters related to administration and policies. Okay. Next important office is prime minister office. Hmm. Prime minister office came into existence in 1947 by replacing what secretary to the governor general. See, till 1977, this office is called as Prime Minister Secretariat. During the period of Morarji Desai government in 1977, this office is changed as Prime Minister Office. Okay, this Prime Minister Office enjoys the status of Department of the Government of India under the Allocation of Business Rules 1961. It also does not have any attached or subordinate office. It is single independent body. Coming to organizational structure. What is the organizational structure of the PMO? Prime Minister Office. Prime Minister Office is headed politically by the Prime Minister and administratively by Principal Secretary. Okay. Additionally, there are two more members for additional secretaries and 3 to 5 members of joint secretaries, and there are number of directors and deputy directors. And for further, there will be secretarial assistants like private secretaries, office on special duty, research officer, hindi officer, and so on. There will be some more officers who will assist the principal secretary. And coming to last one, what are the functions of PMO? Important functions means prime minister office will assist the prime minister in respective to all the responsibilities headed by the government. Next, helps in the prime minister in respect to his responsibilities as chairperson of National Development Council. He looks after the public relations of the prime ministers, like contact with the press and general public. He also deals with all references under the rules of the business that comes under the prime minister. He also provide assistance to the prime minister in the examination of cases submitted to him for the orders prescribed under the rules. All these are some of the important functions of the prime minister office. Yeah. Okay. This is related to the unit 4 and unit 5. In the next class, we will learn about block 3 and unit 7 to 10. Yeah, if anybody have any doubts, you can ask. Okay, then. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.